everyone. Today I'm going to talk about my progress on new work. Now, I've been away, well, I hadn't photographed anything new for almost 2 years. So, what I'm going to go through today is some of the new work I've been capturing, and if my hard drive will work correctly, because while I'm recording this, it's giving me problems with coming on up. I'm going to show you guys what I've been up to in terms of concepts, my style, and how I'm trying to adjust it, or I guess make it more contemporary. And I've already ordered a couple of test prints just to make sure that my brightness is correct, because what can happen is the monitor, since the monitor, especially if you have the brightness on the highest settings, if you're working on your photography and your monitor's brightness setting is really high, then your print, when you actually print your work, is going to be darker than you expected. So you're going to have to turn the brightness down on your monitor, whatever your monitor you're using to edit your work. Turn the brightness down, and then you'll have a better representation of how bright your work actually is. But I'm going to jump over to Adobe Bridge. Now, this is chewing up a lot of RAM, so that's why I was having trouble keeping my hard drive connected, external hard drive connected. But this is my my archives, I guess I can call it. So we're going to jump to 2025. And I've actually been working. Now, if I go to 24, I don't have anything from last year. Like, this is just random captures. Yeah, so I think the last project I worked on, yeah, this was September 16th of 2023 is the last project that I worked on. And as I went through here, there's still there's some pretty good photographs in here that I just did not go over. Let me move this to film strip. Hold on. Yeah, there's now what I did do in terms of upgrades is, I don't know if you guys can tell, like, it's really bright. So I upgraded my the bulbs, my lights, because I was working with 40 watt. They were daytime temperature, but they were only 40 watts. And then I think I bought 135 watts now for each one. So in terms of brightness, when I go back to shooting macros like this floral, it shouldn't be as hard for me to get the proper exposure, because that's the problem I was running into. Was the exposure was not great. I'm going to move my camera really quick. Okay, that's better. So we can see the entire photograph here. All right. So yeah, it's blurry. I really can't see as well as I need to So yeah, a lot of these photographs didn't come out very well. I like the direction I was going with them, but in terms of execution, it just wasn't there. Yeah, because I'm trying to leave all of this out. Um, in terms of, it's a very shallow, extremely shallow depth of field. So, which is what I'm working on right now. But like I said, my my style needed to get better in terms of just my approach to my work. Um, Something more simple like that. Even though to me it's a little blah, but I think that's the direction I'm going towards right now. So I'll show you guys. So this was almost 2 years ago when I captured these photos. So September will be, the mid-September will be 2 years ago. So fast forward to July 14th, I finally picked up the camera again and started, same thing, doing macros, but this time cropped it, zoomed way in. Now this doesn't look great, I will say that, but my thinking, my thought process, I felt like was better, and what I was trying to achieve, I think that was better, and that's basically detail in here is what I was going for. So this is like not really a plan in mind, but just to see what the camera's gonna, what it's gonna do. And I actually did post this on my Instagram, TikToks, that type of thing. And people actually on TikTok actually got a few pings in terms of engagement. So that's when I first picked up my camera again. So fast forward to the 21st of July. Started out very rusty because you stop working in your career long enough, you just lose some of the feel for it. And then overexposed. And then I got to that point and I was like, okay, that's better. Having trouble with the focal point, but I think it's around here. But depending on how I light this, that can be something. I'm gonna tag it, put that in blue. But this is just what I went over, just trying different things to see what I could see, because the 2 years that I had off, within that time, I was looking at a lot of work, looking at how I can get better, how I can approach my work differently, and a style that I need to switch to in order to, because some of the agencies that I want to approach, they're not going to like the style that I had back in 2022, etc. So I'm going to have to update my approach so that when I approach to my work, so that when I go to design agencies, interior design consultants, they look at my work to add it to their portfolios. The style has to be similar enough. It's not copy paste, but it definitely has to be similar enough. So it's just looking at form, the lighting, and obviously not obviously, but I'm photographing these stones on black acrylic panel. Let me grab one really quick. Hold on. So I've got a couple of them right here. And I know I don't have my gloves on. It's okay. I don't have my gloves on, but you got this is black acrylic. And this is what's this, like an 8x12, 8x10, 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 extremely reflective, which is a challenge when you're trying to photograph on it without seeing yourself. So I bought oh, and the other cool part is that they're double-sided, right? So once this one gets too many fingerprints or whatever, you just flip it over. See, like that one, scratches, fingerprints, that type of thing. So when I flipped it over, I started using gloves, my lint-free gloves, so that it wouldn't track my fingerprints. But in terms of the scratches, that's just my camera lens, because I'm trying to capture macro shots. So it's scratching up the panel. So if you buy a pack of 10, that means that you have 20 surfaces, because you can use both sides, and I like them. But like I said, they reflect a lot of light, depending on what angle you're photographing from, and it can be difficult. So for me, I think that the shape of my lights, I'm gonna have to get one that's like just perfectly round, and then another one that's just in a straight line, so that if I want to have a streak of light coming across, then I can have a different light for that. Because right now I'm using my umbrellas for light, which they're okay. It's just depending on the angle. They do weird things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just more unpredictable. And then I'm going for, again, extremely shallow focus. So like one point on here will be in focus, and then everything else in the photograph is out of focus. And when you do something like that, it's very easy to get, the focus wrong or miss the point that you're trying to get in focus. And then at the same time, I'm not using a tripod, so it's just hard for me to capture, get the focus right all the time, let alone the exposure. But yeah, these are just trying different compositions and seeing what works. I think that I have, and if you guys follow me on Instagram or my other social media channels, I am posting my progress. And as you can see here, I'm extremely close to what I'm photographing, which is why the acrylic gets scratched, because sometimes the lens is actually sitting on it. And even with the more, the higher wattage light bulbs that I got, a lot of times I still have to photograph at a slower shutter speed, which means that if I'm moving my hand a little bit, there's going to be blur. So I worked on holding myself still, right? So that there is not a lot of blur or no blur, that everything can, the photograph can be in focus where I want it to be in focus. But yeah, this is one of my sessions. And I ended up turning my kitchen island into the table. um, some of my other ideas, I don't think I'm going to be able to photograph right there. So I do have another smaller table that can be another option, I think. But this is definitely the direction that I'm going. And then the other thing is this one, like, I like this one, but it's out of focus. So I think this will be a reshoot. Yeah, these are like reshoots. Just because I like the light, how it bends around. But where's my focus? My focus is supposed to be right here up in the front, right where the lights come together. But it's just out of focus. So either I'm moving too much, or I don't have the focus on the lens correct. Hold on, this one, I like that one. But it's just looking at composition, looking at what works. And then, obviously, still on the black acrylic panel, if I angle or I get closer to the studio lights, then I'm going to start to see them as a reflection. So I try to use that to my advantage. The problem is that the pole that's in the middle of the umbrella, I started to see that, so it becomes a shadow, which means that I'm gonna have to get gosh, that part I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna work around that. Unless I take the bulb out of the umbrella altogether and kind of mount it a different way so that I still get that huge wash of white light without this little bit of shadow right here, because it shows up a lot where like this is the edge of the umbrella showing up, which it doesn't look bad, but I don't know, like this one here too, like this will be really good, but it's just out of focus. And then this one I did get my focus right, but here's that pole that's inside the umbrella, the studio light. So it's gonna cast a shadow there. I might be able to fix it in Photoshop now that I think about it, but I'm not sure. And maybe it looks better that way, but I want to know for sure before I go that direction. But yeah, I tried that a few times. These sessions are, gosh, I want to say 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. The ones that I've been doing so far. This one I did make a JPEG of it because I feel like this is, I don't know if there's too much space in the foreground, like too much empty space, because here's foreground, middle ground where the stone is, and then this is considered the background, so there's always 3 layers. A lot of times you'll see photographers, they'll put something in each layer so that it doesn't look boring, but there's like a point of interest, even if it's not in focus. It's usually layered like that. So with this particular one, even though there are stones here, It just looks plain. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But I did tag it. Because I do like the mid to background, like I'm totally sold on that. I don't know if I need to crop some of this out. Because I'm thinking if I crop it, is it going to be too busy? And do I need this extra space down here emptied out so the photograph can breathe? I don't know. And how would I do that? Open up in RAW. Okay. So we have, I believe this is the crop button. And yes, there's been a bunch of updates in here since I last worked in here. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want everything moved. Yeah, so I want to move it without moving everything else. Do I hold Option? No, Option doesn't work. Does Command work? Command does not work. Alright, I'm going to try something else. Yeah, I just want to... And everything's kind of new in here. Shift. No, it's doing the same thing. And that does something else. So I would have to pull this into Photoshop if I can't figure out how to do it. Custom ratio. No. Angle. Oh, here it is. It's a little lock button on here. Constrain aspect ratio. Yeah, that was not there before. There we go. So I want around there, I guess. Enter. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now it looks like it's too much going on. It's not enough room to breathe. Because it's like the foreground, middle ground, and background all get mushed into the same space. So now you have that room down there to breathe. So it's clearly a separation. So it gives the photograph more depth, right? If I crop it, it's not terrible, but it definitely gets more abstract. It's definitely more abstract. And that's more clean to me. This is a type of work that you can spin around or rotate. Let's see if I can constrain this. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, I can constrain it with Shift, holding down Shift, but it doesn't turn the... it doesn't turn the image anymore. I don't know. They're always changing how you do stuff in here. Okay. So I'm not going to mess it up. I'm going to cancel this out. But no, I to do that easier, there's these buttons up here. Just rotate them. That's what I was trying to do. To see what it does. So I'm gonna tag that one. This one is definitely more abstract. I think that this is off too much. But this is the type of stuff I've been working on, so I did keep that one, like these two are really close. But my focus is off. The focus is better. And then this is the first one that I figure like, oh, I like that one. And then this is another one that I haven't really looked at just yet. But you see how you can kind of see the studio lighting here. So I want to make sure that it's not too pronounced. That I can, really see the reflection that good. But I like the background. It fades out. I don't know if there's that much more I need to do with this. But when the test prints come back, I'm gonna make sure that my monitor is not too bright. So then if I need to brighten this image, then I will. This is interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I like this or not. I'm on the fence. No, not that one. I would say one of these. Yeah, one of these. And it seems like the only shift, I shifted a little bit between these two where there's more of this in the photograph, but it's very slight. This is brighter, of course, but yeah, I think that might be something. I'm gonna tag this one. And then I took a photograph of just the overall what I was doing. So I took a what is it? The black clay plates, and put the stones in there, put water in there, and I think that effect is really, really works. So the next day, I jumped into something else. I started photographing this thing. And a lot of these didn't come out. It was just an idea I had. But I do like the composition of this one. Now, this is going to be rough to print. Because anytime I boosted the lighting, the exposure, it lost the feel that I was going for. So I have to be really careful with this if I actually end up using it. But I tried different compositions with it. And I still have to look through these. It's just, I don't know what I would do with this. Because it's completely a different style than where I was focused. But as I started photographing this, I just got more and more ideas. And so I just kept going. So yeah, very simple. It's more about form. There's a reflection. It's still using a black acrylic, but of course I'm at an angle where the studio lights aren't showing in the acrylic panel. So I want that reflection without that, excuse me, that huge, beam of or glaring light on there. And then I went back to what I was doing the day before, which is my original idea. Um, I was really focused on earth tones, and so that's what I wanted to capture. But I wanted to incorporate the water, and then this is going back to the black clay plate. So I took quite a few of these. These, just the composition doesn't interest me. Like, I see what I was trying to do, but just in terms of interest, the composition was not great. I did like this one the best out of all of them, but it just didn't grab my attention enough. And then I went with this one, and I felt like it was too bright. It's just very bright. It's really bright. Like it's too much. I like the texture, I like the color, but I had to figure out how to. It just seems overwhelming when you look at it. So I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to photograph it but have it toned down, you know, um, so that it's not like right up in my face. So I started moving it, well, not to the background, but it's still there. But again, putting the focus on something else. So then that's what I landed on, to where it's still here, but it's not the main focus. I just like that color and some of that texture of the darker brown in there. Um, Same deal with the red. The red was really intense, like a saturated color, but I don't think that I could photograph it or present it by itself. Actually, I could try that because I don't think I did. But you see how strong these are? These are like really just in your face. Um, and I guess the feel of it, I want it to be more calm. Yeah, so when I use them as a background, like took the focus off of them, focus more on the black stone and towards the back, then that color worked together, the cream and the red. And then the black was like, it was in the background, but I just liked the texture on it. And there was some water drops on there as well. So it was just trying to get the composition right. That's really what I wanted to do. Like this one, it was too much empty space up here. Um, but you have to try things, even if it's like minor adjustments to a composition, to see what works. So I did go back and settle on this one. It's like the right balance of where I want everything. Um, and as I'm looking at it, maybe I can step back a little bit to give these more breathing room, but I don't know. um, and I won't be able to recreate this because I already took that setup down. But yeah, it's interesting. Something like that. That might be an option. I'm going to have to edit it and see what happens. Oh, and you guys want to see a trick I do? Because I'm kind of lazy with editing. I don't like sitting in Photoshop and doing a whole bunch of editing, right? So what I do is I will grab this. This is something that I've already edited, that little icon right there. And then I'll take something that has potential, and I will also select that one. And then I'll pull it into Camera Raw. And Camera Raw is set up a lot more like Lightroom, even though I don't like Lightroom's interface, but the controls in Camera Raw are closer to Lightroom. So if I can find the right button, I know it's over on this side. Okay, so I'm gonna pick the one that's already edited, right? So pick that one. This is the one that I want to match it to, or the other way around. So this is the one that's already edited, and then I'm gonna select all, and then you go to these three dots here, you click on that, and you go to sync settings, and basically everything's checked, right? So you go synchronize, and then you press OK. And what happens is the edits that I created on the first one, on the original one, gets copied over to the next one. So now they basically have the same edits. So I use that as a starting point to help me figure out, like, okay, which one is better. And I'm actually starting to like the one that's, see that step back that I took, like it's the camera, the lens is not as close. I'm starting to like that better because it's just more space to breathe. This one is way too close. That's the feeling that I'm getting. And a lot of times, like, photographers ask me, like, how do you know the difference between this one and this one in terms of which one you're going to pick? It's just practice. You just keep photographing over and over again. But for me, I'm looking at breathing space. Like, how much room do I have? Because this is still the subject, these three: black, cream, red. But when it's this close, it's like, man, it just feels like this is overwhelming still. The cream stone. So you step back a little bit, and now you have more breathing room, and your eyes have a chance to roam throughout the entire composition, so you can see what's going on. Now I'm probably gonna brighten this a little more. Not with exposure, because that's what exposure does. It brightens up everything and it just messes it up. But you say, okay, highlights, I probably don't want to mess with those too much, because see what happens to the cream. It gets way too loud. So this is going to have to go into Photoshop, because I'm going to have to brighten up everything around it, but not this cream stone. So a blanket edit is really not going to work too much for this one, more than what I have right now. Yeah, shadows. So there's that. I don't know. It's like part of me wants to trim off the top here a little bit, but uh, that's got potential right there for sure. Okay, so I tagged that one. I'm already 40 minutes in, so I'll try to wrap this up pretty quickly. And this one definitely didn't turn out how I thought it would, because first few of these I was getting too many reflections. Like, these are my studio lights reflecting off the glass. So I put on a polarizer filter to cut down. I put a polarizer filter on my lens, camera lens, to cut down on that reflection, which also makes the image darker. And then it boosts the color of it at the same time. So I tried that, and what I saw in my mind, I just could not get it to work. I had a few that were close, like this is close, because basically this would be white. Like, I would go black and white. This would be white. Everything else would be black. So you would see this orb just floating there. But I'm going to have to probably use less light, if any at all. Or use a different lighting setup so I don't get those lines in there. Yeah, it just didn't come out the way that I thought. And then my shutter speed was too slow, or I was moving when I was capturing this. So I think this one would be, I'm going to have to work with a tripod for sure. But at the same time, I'm thinking I'm going to have to kick up the shutter speed to improve the clarity on here. Now, how am I going to get rid of the streaks? I might be able to use a blending mode in Photoshop, stack the images, and then use a blending mode to get rid of those streaks, but I don't know how that's going to affect the rest of the image. See, I like that one. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I like that one. And then I went black and white, and that was rough. So that's when I was thinking, like, see my studio light there. You can see the bend in it. I'm gonna have to order like one that's like a straight line in terms of lighting, and then one that's like a perfect circle, and then see how I can use that shape of light to fall on this particular object. And then that one is weird, but I like the color in this for some reason. That was close, but yeah. Some of these are interesting with the color, but I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, if anything at all. I don't know. And obviously this is this thing is constantly moving, like everything's in motion. That's interesting. But I don't know. I'm going to have to go into presets maybe and try different color profiles to see what that does. It's just experimenting. find some with a good composition on it, and then see what happens. Like, see the white and then it's darker over here. I do like that part. I don't know. This if I use this project, it has a mind of its own. So I have to see what works. I think my original idea is going to get tossed. And yeah, like that's close. But I don't know if I can manipulate this color so that it's not so, it's a bit on the bland side. Just bland. Yeah. So I captured quite a few of these. And then I decided to go completely opposite and go back here. I tagged it because I like this composition. I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one. But this is definitely what I went into. And then again, this is the studio light, the edge of it. So I don't know if I want this to be a perfectly straight line of light right there, or do I want something that's a bit more organic and not as refined in terms of lighting. And then that almost took the light out altogether, you know. So overall, I'm looking for more, I guess, more of a minimalistic approach. And sometimes my idea matches that. And then sometimes, like I said, the work has a mind of its own and I have to take it in whatever direction it's going. So I think this one is better with 3 in it. Gosh, I wish I can flip this, like flip it, have this on this side and have it trailing that way instead of over here and it's trailing off that this way. Just to see how that looks. And then obviously these are really underexposed. And there's a lot of lint on here. Yeah, so I think this is gonna need maybe a tripod, but I'm gonna have to change where I photograph it because in order to get the angle that I need to get to and get as close to this as I need to get, I'm probably gonna have to move the table. Now this actually looks pretty good. It's out of focus, but I'm gonna tag that because I like, I don't know, I like that. I wish it was a little bit more color, like a little bit more color over here, but I do like that one. This one, I was thinking about earth tones. So I had the idea of putting these 3 together. I just didn't know how. Like, I had the composition in my mind. I didn't know if it was going to work. And so I started going in that direction. And I kept messing with it to see. Let me flip this or rotate, see what it was going to do. But I ended up with that one. And that's like, in terms of like what I created in July, this by far is my favorite one. And it does use the earth tones, but it has my, of course, it has my personality weaved into it. So I went ahead and I sent the test print today to the photo lab, and they're not going to start working on it until Monday morning, but I sent it to them. What else is there? This one is close, I think. I'm gonna have to reshoot this one. I did tag one of them because I like, see, this is the color, right? But this is out of focus. Like, everything's out of focus. But I like the way, just the angle of this. I'm gonna have to figure out, do I leave it up in the corner or do I see how they're coming back to the middle? And that one's definitely more towards the middle. I might want to leave them at this angle, make them closer together. So it's like a streak of color going across. And then the black around the edges on there. I don't know. I have to figure out how to do that. But definitely, I think the first thing is getting the center stone in focus. And then moving the studio light out the way enough so that I can see it up here, but it's not illuminating the bottom of the panel. So I don't want to see that reflection in the panel. I just want to leave all this as dark as possible. Because when you go to the next ones, that's when you start seeing the light in the panel, like the reflection of light. So definitely have to understand where I'm going to see the light and where I'm not. Because sometimes I want to use the light and then sometimes I don't want to see it. So I think at this point, that's actually not bad. It's a little, I don't know, it just seems a little bit off. That's not bad. I don't know, I have to figure out if I actually like this one or not. Okay, so in this case, the studio umbrella is bending, which is a good thing because it's creating that shadow. The shadow's bending with it. Oh gosh, I think that I want to see this stone a little bit more. I think I want to see that a little bit more. So I'm going to have to lift that shadow so you can see the details a lot more, preferably without messing up everything else. Hold on, let me do this really quick. What happens if I lift the shadows overall? Oh, there we go. Do I want it that bright? I don't know if I want it that bright. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go all the way up on the bright, right? And then drop the blacks and see what that does. Oh, I'm kind of losing it now. Yeah, that's close to losing it, but I think that's interesting. I think that looks interesting. And I know I'm kind of going back and forth between my two monitors here. Um, yeah, I calibrated both of them, but they show differently. So my old monitor, I can see the detail better than the new one. Interesting. I think we might have something right there. So I'm gonna save that. Yeah, see how the composition changed? It dropped. Like they just dropped too low. So that little drop in composition just throws it off to me. Hmm. This one I don't know because it looks composition looks weird because I'm kind of looking sideways here. No, that doesn't work. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, and again, I think this is another one I would like to flip where I would have the red on the opposite side and then that brown or the gold on that side. I might try that. And then this one, instead of going, you know, all black without seeing the light, have a little bit of the light shining on the surface. And then that's when I ran into the problem of having that the light stand inside the studio umbrella. I can see it. So I'm like, man, and I couldn't get rid of it. So um this might be the opportunity to go into Photoshop and see what AI and Photoshop can do with that. Because, yeah, to get rid of that line there. So I tagged one of them. I think that composition's fine. Yeah. And I don't know if I want these three further apart and further up, but I want to fix this shadow part first, see if I can do that. All right. So then I jump back to the red object I had. And I don't know, I just like the red. I like the red color. Oh, I forgot to label this purple. Yeah, so this is the other test print that I sent. I don't know. I didn't brighten it at all. No highlights, the whites, not like every time I put a little bit more light on it, it just the red just went in completely overly saturated. So I want to keep the red color toned down, but and then I tried to brighten up everything around, and it just so I left it alone. I probably took out the color aberrations. I did that, but other than that, I mean, it's just so finicky. I couldn't really do anything else to it without messing it up because it has a moody, edgy feel to it. And again, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this in terms of style. Like, who am I going to show this to? But I have shared it on social media, my social media channel. So I will like see that one is. I wonder those little glass orbs that I have. Those, yeah. Can I incorporate that into this? I don't know. That just popped up into my mind because I feel like I like that composition there, but it's still I still need a subject. So maybe if I had three of those glass orbs, the little tiny ones, but where would I put them without throwing off what I've got right now? I don't know. So there's that. Yeah, different angles. I kind of like this one, even though like this down here, it just stops. And I wonder if I can extend this lower. Now, do I want to liquefy or, oh, do I want to liquefy it? I'm gonna have to try that. I can't do that right now because it'll shut the computer down. But the liquefy feature or tool in Photoshop, it takes up a lot of computing power, RAM, memory. It takes up a lot of that. So I basically have to close everything else, especially if it's a larger file, if I'm going to start messing around with liquefy in Photoshop. And in terms of computing power, I do have my eye on the, what is it, the M4 uh, Mac Mini, because I've got the M2 right now, but I need more RAM. And yeah, I have the M2 chip. And so if I upgrade to the M4, or maybe they're on the M5 right now, then that's going to give me enough juice to start doing more complex stuff on here with the photographs. So liquefy, I don't know why I didn't think of that before. That might be interesting. So in that case, you see there's that shadow again from inside the studio light. You can use that to your advantage by warping it, and turning it into something else entirely. But this is what happens when you put too much light on it. It just gets, you can't do anything with this. I like this one. But yeah, I think I'm going to end up having to warp this with liquefy and see what it does. I have no idea what it's going to do or look like. I don't know. I'm just going to try something. And same deal with that one. Like this one, extend this because it cuts off right there. And then take the light. Gosh, I don't know if I'll be able to put, like if I raise the highlights, like, is that going to throw off everything too much? I don't know. But that's it. That's what I'm photographing. Um, very plain, very simple. I also thought about spheres, getting some actual spheres with a satin color on it, because I don't want to go chrome, because then it's going to reflect me and everything else. But if you go satin or a semi gloss, but I'm really thinking satin, then I can do some things with uh, that coating on there. I think that'd be interesting. This one is the last thing that I tried, but I just didn't like. Yeah, and then it just gets really weird around here, because that's just a stark fall off with the focus. It's like in focus, and then it just drops off on the edges. So it's really, really jarring to me. I don't know if that's going to work. But I do like this one. It's got a lot more light in it than I was hoping in terms of the studio light. But I don't know. For some reason, I like that one. And at this point, same thing. You're getting this really weird, kind of a ghosty effect around here. But yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to try something else with this. And then I thought about cropping out the black around it and just focusing on this part here as like a square. I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know. Um, let me try that before I go. But that's the last one that I worked on, which was what, a few days ago, last weekend, something like that. I have more ideas. For sure, but okay. So now, what if I crop out the black? I have no idea what I'm looking at. How big is this? It's a six by 10, almost on 6.5 by almost 11. Um, it's definitely abstract. I'm definitely gonna have to look at what to do with the color. I like the texture, but gosh, I don't know what to do with that color. And really not the darker color, but the lighter creamy color. Yeah, I would have to test that out just to see what that cream is gonna do. I would have to test that out to see what it's gonna do. Yeah, that's crazy. And this one's actually not terrible, but I don't know. I might try something with this one in terms of I would actually add black around that to give it more room to breathe, but leave that detail right there. And see how that looks. I'm not gonna do that right now because I would crash my system. But That would be something. What if I flip this? Nah, not quite. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know if that's gonna work because nothing is in focus, and I would have to fix the lighting. But anyway, so I can get lost going down these rabbit holes. But yeah, this is the best one that I have so far. So this one, and where's the other one? I have two reds. Let me go red. Okay, so these are the ones I tagged in red. I think I've got something. I just don't know who's going to like this because I'm thinking like for this one, I totally know the audience for this one, right? Well, for the most part. For this one, I don't know. It just looks very interesting. It looks really interesting. And this one, I don't have to extend it because it goes off. It already goes off of the edge. This line here, so it doesn't look like it's cut off abruptly, like in the middle of the composition. I don't know, but again, they are these prints. They have it. The photo lab has it set so that it's going to be eight working days between the time when they start working on the print to when it's actually delivered. 8 working days. So I'm looking at the 10th, August 10th, probably, because they're not going to start working on this until August 4th, which is Monday. So yeah, it's going to be towards the middle of March when I get them. And yeah, and if you guys watch my sample video with other product samples, but they already had those ready, so it didn't take them that long to send those. But yeah, it comes from Cologne, I believe is the city, and they ship them over here. Their packaging and everything is really good. So I've had my prints, developed through them before. They're really good. They're really, they're award winning. So I'm excited to see what they look like. But this is gonna be a good one. It's just I'm gonna check on the brightness because you have the black. I want to keep the black, black and not a dark gray. But then I want the stones to be in the shadows but pop enough, and have that color really saturated. So I'm gonna see what that print looks like. So I'm well over my hour for this. But again, if you guys have any questions about anything, comments, feedback, just go ahead and leave it in the comments or DM me, direct message me on social media, or email me through the contact page on the main website. If you want to follow my progress, I'm still going to post what I have or what I'm doing actually on Instagram, and yeah, that's where everything is going to be. I did go to Michael's, which was probably my last post, and I spent too much money, but that ends up happening when you go to the art store. So There are some new ideas I want to start working on next week. I just all of this is an experiment. I don't know if what I see in my mind is actually going to translate well on camera, in the photograph. So I'll see what works and what doesn't work and start adding things. Now I will say, once I get these initial test prints back uh, near the middle of August, I'm going to use those as templates for everything else, so I don't have to send a test print for everything. Um, and then going forward, I'm just going to test certain things periodically if I feel like I'm going to run into certain problems. But right now, I just want to make sure that my monitor brightness is correct. If my monitor that I'm using is too bright, then I'm going to go ahead and dim it down, and then send another test print, or order more test prints, and just to make sure I got the brightness on my monitor correct, which I checked before with this, but I was using a different lab. So now that I'm switching everything over to them in Germany, I'm going to make sure that my brightness is where it needs to be. Yeah, but that's all I have. So, you guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care.